Hello everyone. Welcome back to the third and hopefully the final part of the Medal of Honor fire style animation tutorial. Picking right up where we left off the last time. Find the colorize adjustment layer and make a duplicate of it. Ctrl D on your keyboard. Now move it to begin where the last one ends and stretch it to end at where your final composition ends. Okay, now press U to see all the changed keyframes. Take out the lightness keyframes and move the saturation keyframes to 2 seconds and 2 seconds and 17 frames, so right here. Okay, so move those to right here. That's where our third logo is going to be distorted. Okay, now time to make the third logo. Go into your project panel, duplicate the logo to comp, drag it into your composition. Also drag in your turbulent background. Let's see. Now place both to begin where the logo 2 ends. So right here. And lumimat the background under the logo 3. And now open up the logo 3, and here you need to replace placeholder 2 with placeholder 3, which we are now going to create. So duplicate placeholder 2 and you get placeholder 3. Drop that into your logo comp, delete placeholder 2, and now you can open placeholder 3 and get rid of this logo. And let's say you want to put in some kind of a different logo. Let's say you want to use the Frostbite logo. So we are going to probably scale it up a bit, somewhere like that. So now if we go to our logo 3 comp, you can see that our Frostbite logo is already updated in the comp. Okay, so now you can see it if we go back to our final. This is our third logo, and you can sort of see already what's going on. It is filled in with the explosion, and you can sort of see the smoke coming through and the logo showing up. You can color correct it some more if you don't like this, but let's say for the time being that we like it. Let's go and keyframe the position of the logo number 3. So let's go to the beginning of the logo, count off 1, 2, 3 frames forward, and keyframe the position. Go 1 frame back and move the position just a little bit left. Now go 1 frame back and keyframe the position up a bit. You can go 1 frame back and keyframe the position up a little more, or you can move these keyframes backward like this, so when the logo appears it sort of moves just a little bit. Also go and turn on the motion blur for this layer. Okay, now time to work on your emitter 3 layer. So take your logo 3 layer, duplicate it, you get logo 4, rename that to something like emitter 3, so you'll remember what it is. Drag that into your comp, make it invisible, also make it 3D since Your emitter map must always be 3D. Okay, now time to set up our final rocks explosion. So go back to the final comp, find the particles explosion layer, duplicate it, Control D, and let's see, you can move it up if you want to. Move it to where the third logo begins and stretch it to the final length. And now go change a few settings in it. Collapse glow for now. Go to emitter layer, and no, not emitter size, emitter layer, and change the emitter layer to emitter 3. Now go to 2 seconds, let's see, 2 seconds and 6 frames, and keyframe particles a second to 500, and physics time factor 5 should stay the same. And now press U to check out all your keyframes. Undo the wind keyframes, undo the position keyframes. Let's see, undo the opacity, change that up to 100. Let's see, put in a new keyframe for the time physics factor, and take out all the other keyframes. Okay, next frame, set particles a second to 0, and now change the physics time factor to 1. Now set the wind X to 7, wind Y should be 1, wind Z, well, can set it to something like -53, -50 something. No need to keyframe the wind settings. And now we are getting pretty close. You can see some rocks generating from the explosion, and everything is coming up nicely. Okay, right now, to give it a bit more life in the background, I'm going to import this pre-made particles animation, and well, it's just particles. I'm sure you could, if you don't want to use a particles animation, you could just set up your particulate to generate all the particles. I'm going to blow it up to 150, and I'm going to use levels. Let's see. And I'm going to use curves on it. So let's see. With curves, I'm going to give it a bit more contrast like this, so we don't see as much of the black. And with levels, I'm going to move the sliders around a bit until I like what I'm seeing. Let's see here. I want to just barely see the specks. So something like this, maybe. Okay, now I am going to set it to begin at 22 frames right here, and I am going to cut the beginning of it to 2 seconds 4 frames, so right here where the third logo begins. So there will be no particles right here, but there will be some over here. Okay, now set its transfer mode to add. Let's see right there, and you can see what we're getting, some particles sort of moving with the wind of the explosion, and there's a bit of smoke here coming from our previous puffy smoke animation. So everything is sort of coming together and giving you a nice look. Okay, one more thing. We are going to go in and add this smoke, the smoke animation, and we are going to, let's see, well, in the original animation it was somewhere around here in the center coming out of the logo. So this would be a good place to put it. Obviously you don't have to do that, but I want to just add a bit more life to it. I'm going to move it to begin at where the third logo begins, right here, and I'm going to keyframe its opacity. At the very beginning of it, I'm going to set opacity to 0. Now I'm going to move forward 2 frames and set it to 46. So it's just barely visible right there. Okay, now we want to set up a third flare that sparks off the third logo explosion. So find flare 2, duplicate it, let's rename it to flare 3 so we won't forget what's going on, and I'm going to move it up with the third logo so I can sort of understand what's going on. I'm going to set it to begin where the third logo begins, and I'm going to stretch it to the end. Now I'm going to go to the beginning of it, and I'm going to keyframe its brightness to 200. Now I'm going to go to 2 seconds, 8 frames, and keyframe the brightness to 90, which is it already is. So I want to delete all these other keyframes and these ones too. Okay, I'm now going to as I'm at 2 seconds 8 frames, I'm going to move the flare XY position to coincide with the top of the word frostbite, so to somewhere right here. Now your logo might look different, but in this case I want the center of the logo, of the flare, to sort of slide across the logo as it explodes. So I'm going to go to right now I'm going to go to 2 seconds and 10 frames and keyframe the brightness to 250. Okay, at 2 seconds 12 frames, which is 2 frames forward, I'm going to keyframe the brightness to 90 again. At 3 seconds and 2 frames, I'm going to set another brightness keyframe, and at 3 seconds 5 frames, I'm going to set the brightness to around 1050, or maybe even more. No, a lot more, so something like that. Let's go 1500, let's max it out. Okay, and right now I'm also going to set a at the end, right here at this at the last keyframe, I'm also going to move the XY position to the about to the end of the logo right here. So as we have the flare sort of sliding, well, that would help if I set the actual keyframe, I guess. So okay, set the keyframe, go back right here again, and move the center again now that we've set the keyframe. So somewhere right here. So in the end, what we have here is the flare is sliding across the words. And obviously you can go to options and you can delete, get rid of the glint right here and the multi-iris and all sorts of stuff. Get rid of this stuff, get rid of this stuff, and just have your optical flare which slides across. Okay, we are getting really close now. Just a couple of things left. I'm also going to add a fast blur to this flare right here, and I'm going to set it up at around, let's see, 145 should do it, so it doesn't have the sharp edges when it slides across right here, across the word. So you can see there's a lot of rocks going on, a lot of stuff, and the flare lights up all the particles, so they are even more visible. Okay, just one more step left. I'm going to add a new solid, a black solid, call it fader, and you can probably see where this is going. I'm going to keyframe its opacity. I'm going to go to 3 seconds and let's see, 2 frames, and I'm going to keyframe its opacity to 0. Then I'm going to go 3 frames forward, and I'm going to set its opacity to 100. So here we have, when the explosion of the flare happens, we also have a fade out after it. So there's your logo. That's it. Pat yourself on the back and have a sandwich, because we are done.